Shalom. I want to get right into this, right? And I want everybody to know that this is not an immature message or a disrespectful message. And of course, I've been cheated on in a prior relationship. Every man that's dealt with, especially if you've dealt with a lot of women, certainly, at some point in time in your life, in your history, a woman has chosen somebody over you. So I don't want people to think that this message is not what many of you think it is. Okay, this message is a message of enlightenment for a lot of brothers out here. Now, you can't necessarily change your character, right? If you try um, to change who you are, then you'll be falsificating. You'll be falsifying yourself. But behaviors can be changed based upon what's correct, based upon what's righteous, based upon what's not righteous. But let me make sure that my sound is rocking, okay? I want to make sure my sound is rocking. Give me 1 minute. We're not going to be long here this evening. We're going to be about an hour, no more than an hour, 10, 15 minutes. Give me a minute. Just grab myself something to drink real quick. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so we got some interesting scriptures here that I'm going to read, okay? We got some interesting scriptures here that I'm going to read. All right? Pretty interesting. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. All right. All right. So you all know the title, right? I don't want to keep repeating the title. So I'm only going to work on the first two tonight, okay? The first two that I'm going to work on is the beta man and the asshole man, okay? These are two men that women don't like, okay? The envious and the jealous man, that's another man, and the gossiping man. Those are also two men that women don't like. But we're going to focus on just two of the men tonight. Okay? We're going to get in and out of this as quick as possible. Let's go right into this, and we're going to start with the beta man. We're going to start with the beta man. We're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 16 and 30. We're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 16 and 30. Matter of fact, we got it on here. This message is not what many of you think it is. I'm not coming here to be immature, to be disrespectful, or anything of that nature. So we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 16, and we're going to go to verse 30, right? So, is that the scripture? 1 Kings chapter 16. Okay. 1:16 verse 30. All right, so we want to talk about the king Ahab, right? We want to talk about the king Ahab. Okay? Ahab, this chapter is about the kings of the Negroes. These are generations of kings. If you go to 1 Kings in chapter 16, what it does is it speaks about Negroes whom were kings, those of the tribe of Judah, just like us Negroes here in America. This is generations of kingship. If you go to 1 Kings in chapter 16, you will see that this is the generations of kingship. Okay? So if you go to this chapter, before Ahab, it speaks about his predecessors, whom he come from the bloodline. He come from the bloodline of these predecessors. These were kings before him. Now, I want you to listen to the scripture because all of these kings were wicked kings, every last one of them. And if you go to 1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 30, and it says, listen, it says, and Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahuwah above all that were before him. So I just want to set the tone there. I want to set the tone. I want you Negroes to listen, okay? This message is not going to be long because I'm tired. I'm going to get me some sleep in a little bit. This message is going to be about an hour and 20 minutes tops. But I want to set the tone because our forefather, if you are a Negro here in America, we had a forefather that went by the name of Ahab, and he was a king. He was a literal king of Israel. Okay? So he had power. Now, I want you to understand that this scripture right here says that Ahab was the worst of all his predecessors previously spoke about in this chapter. I want to set the tone. Okay? Ahab's problem was that he worshiped his wife, and he pretty much he was idolatrous toward his wife. Okay? And he was a beta male, meaning that he didn't have rulership over his own marriage. Now, this is just not talking about marriages. This is also referring to if you're dating a female and she becomes your girlfriend and you're her boyfriend, whatever the case, these things immediately you want to put yourself in. You want to control the tempo of the situation right away, and you want to make sure that you're not in a position where you're being ruled by your counterpart, where you're being ruled by your female. Okay? Now, this can be happening without a lot of men knowing. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to read some scriptures here, and these are some powerful scriptures, and I want you all to listen now. I want you to remember something. Ahab, our forefather, he was a king, meaning he controlled everything. Okay? So now I want to go to 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 4. I want to go to 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 4. 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 4. I want y'all to pay very close attention. 1 Kings chapter, and we're going to keep reading until I'm done. So we're going to stay in Kings, and we're going to go to chapter 18, and we're going to start from verse 4. And I want you to pay attention. So it says here, for it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water. So now, our King Ahab, he married a woman that went by the name of Jezebel. Now, Jezebel was not an Israelite. Jezebel was of another nation. We're not going to get into that right now. But Jezebel worshipped a different god from Ahab. Okay? Jezebel worshipped a different god from Ahab. And so one of the first things as a man, when you come across a woman that you like, one of the first things that you need to understand is you and that woman cannot be unevenly yoked. She has to believe in the same God that you believe in. Now, I'm going to be a little unfair here. You all would call it unfair, but it's not necessarily unfair. It's just that Yahuwah is the creator of the universe. There is no other Elohim but Yahuwah. And nobody out there is willing to challenge anybody like me that their Elohim is the truth and my Elohim is not. So, in other words, let me explain. Because there might be some people out there that are saying, well, hey, listen. They may be saying, well, hey, listen, I'm a Muslim, or I'm Amish, or I believe in Kushna, right? So you all would say that this is unfair. But until you can prove that your God, Kushna, or Allah, or any of those gods out there, until you can prove they exist, or until you can come and contest somebody at my stature whom is knowledgeable in the Bible, somebody on my level, and you can win a debate that your Elohim is true and mine is false, until you can win that debate, this is going to sound unfair to you. But I'm only speaking to the men whom are believers in Yahuwah. Because if you are not a believer in Yahuwah, you are exempt here. And your opinions, your emotions, your feelings, it doesn't mean anything to me tonight. Because I'm confident in the Elohim that I serve. So if you believe in a different Elohim and you cannot contest with me and prove to me that your Elohim is true and mine is false, then I don't even care. So this is for men of Yahuwah, men that have faith and believe in Yahuwah. Okay? The first thing that you need to make sure is that your woman is a believer in Yahuwah as well, the God of the Bible. If she's not a believer in the God of the Bible, then she's no good. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. And a lot of the reasons why a lot of these relationships go haywire from the beginning is because the men aren't even believers of the true Elohim. So how is it that they can even lead a woman? You have to be somebody who is steadfast in the truth. You understand what I'm saying? So first thing our forefather did was he married a foreign woman that believed in a foreign false god. Okay? So I want you all to listen here because it's saying, for it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah. So listen, I want to explain the problem why the Most High Christ called this man one of the wickedest men in the Bible. So he's got a wife, right? And cut off means to kill. It means to murder. So this woman that he married, who was a foreigner, who didn't even believe in the Elohim of the Israelites, come into the castle, okay? And she killed the prophets that were preaching in the name of Yahuwah. And she did it under the signet of Ahab. Now, listen, I know I'm losing some people here, but I needed to say this. Now, a lot of you aren't catching the magnitude of that. If you didn't catch the magnitude of what I just said, then that's a serious problem. Okay? I need y'all to listen very carefully to what I just said, because this, on a scale of a magnitude of importance, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 50. Okay? So you have a king. The king is named Ahab, right? Ahab's the king, right? You control the kingdom, okay? And you, let's say, it doesn't really matter who you married. You could have married anybody. But she was supposed to be a believer in the Elohim that he believed in. That's the first beta mistake that he made. You are never to pick a woman if she's unevenly yoked with you. If she doesn't believe in Yah, it's automatic cutoff. Automatic cutoff. Okay? So I could never go out there and try to marry a woman who worships a celebrity, who worships a politician, who worships a false god, right? Who worships money, right? Who worships herself. She may be a narcissist. She may worship herself. I could never take her seriously. You understand that? So that's the first thing right there. And then she comes and she kills many of the prophets that were underneath Ahab, that were going out and teaching the people in the name of Yahuwah. Okay? I tell you, this message is not what you all thought it was. And I'm going to do another part to this, right? But I want y'all to understand, if y'all, there's people out there that don't think that's effed up. So if you don't find this effed up, right, then you're in the wrong mind right here, right? So now, let's go to 2 Kings chapter 21. Let's go to chapter 21. Excuse me, 1 Kings chapter. We're just going to go to chapter 21. We're going to stay on 1 Kings, and we're going to go to chapter 21. Okay? We're going to go to 1 Kings, and we're going to go to chapter 21. And we're going to read verses 8 through 11. We're going to go to 1 King, and we're going to read verses 8 through 11. 1 Kings chapter 21, 8 through 11. And I want you all to pay very close attention. So, how did she kill the prophets? How did she kill the prophet? Because certainly she's a woman. She didn't go out there with a knife and kill these prophets. She didn't go out there with weapons like a warrior and kill hundreds of prophets. So this woman killed hundreds of prophets that were Israelites, that were of your own people. I need y'all to understand what's going on here. Okay? There's not this much love in the world. If you saw the movie Troy, you would understand that there's certain things you're not supposed to do. If you haven't seen the movie Troy with Brad Pitt, go watch the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. Okay? Now, this is 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 8 through 11. Listen, this is how she killed the previous prophets. So let me explain what's going on here in chapter 21. So Ahab wants a specific garden. He wants a garden. Okay? And the only way he can get this garden or this vineyard, right? Ahab is the king, right? And there's somebody in Israel that owns a vineyard. Ahab, he wants this vineyard. So he goes to the man that owns the vineyard, and he says, listen, I want to buy this vineyard or this garden from you. And the man declines. The owner of the vineyard, he declines because it's not about money for him. It's sentimental. The vineyard is in the family, and the man does not want to sell the vineyard. So, quite technically, Ahab, even though he's the king, he's the general, well, not the general, he's the king or he's the prince of Israel. There's laws put in place. He can't just go and take the vineyard from the man, not technically. So he gets sore upset because the man wouldn't sell him the vineyard. So he goes back to his home, and Jezebel is asking him, hey, why are you so sad? And then he tells Jezebel, he says, well, because I want to buy a vineyard, and the old man won't sell me the vineyard. So now, let's go and start here. Let's start at verse 7. This is 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 8 through 11. This is 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 8 through 11. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, do thou not govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So I think what I'm trying to prove here is how you feel about a woman should not supersede righteousness. Let me repeat this. How you feel about a woman, it should not supersede righteousness. A lot of you, I know many of you are not going to get this one. You're not going to follow me with this one. Some of you men don't even know what love is. Some of you out there, you claim that, oh, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. Let me tell you something, and you need to understand something very carefully. I love my wife. I don't want anybody to ever misconstrue that. I do. But we don't want to get too technical with that word love because many of you don't completely understand it. Okay? This is why, as a man, you need to get the beginning basics straight. Okay? Make sure you're not with somebody that's going to try and destroy the things that are around you. Make sure you're not with a woman who's despising another person or a group of individuals so badly that she wants to use your marriage, or she wants to connivingly persuade you to have the same hatred toward other people. Did y'all just understand what I said? So if let's say you're married to a woman, right? And she don't like somebody for an unjust reason, or she despises somebody unrighteously. You're not supposed to go along with that. Do you understand this? This is how evil many women can be. And you, as a man, you have to put righteousness over her wickedness. You got to put her in place. You can't allow her to be a devil behind the scenes to attempt to hurt or slander or gossip or do devious things to other people. You understand that? So Jezebel says, I will give thee the vineyard of, so she says, I'm going to get you the garden. He don't ask her, well, how you going to get me the garden? First of all, I'm the king. What are you going to do? If I can't forcibly, according to law, I can't just take that man's garden. I mean, I could seize it, but according to the law of Moses, I can't just take that man's garden. That's the law that Yah put into place. That's why she said to him, do thou not govern the kingdom? Arise and eat your bread and let thine heart be merry. So she's trying to say, listen, you're the king. You can basically do whatever you want to do. So listen here. And this is how she killed the other prophets. So she says she's going to get him the garden. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth, the man that owned. So what's going on here is during these times, there was a signet of wax. You all know what I'm talking about. You see it, it's a wax that you put on an envelope, and then you take a signet and you stamp it. Okay? So when she was stamping it, it was with Ahab's signet because he's the king. So she was wickedly, schemingly, underhandedly controlling his army and controlling the strong men of the city through her husband's signet. And he was allowing this. He was allowing this. If you're a man and you don't see nothing wrong with this, you are a coward. You are a P-U-S-S-Y. You a cold sucker if you don't see what's wrong with this. Oh, my wife can do whatever she want to do. You a clown. And most men that are not ruling their households right now, you don't think that there's nothing wrong with this, do you? But she's doing it for me, though. She's getting me the gut. That's unrighteous. Don't you understand that? She's not allowed to do evil things like that. So it gets worse. This is how she got the prophets killed, because she was controlling the armed forces and controlling the gangsters in the city. So if she had a problem, she, not even her husband, not even Ahab, him too, but mainly her. She is the one, she got the prophets killed because they were preaching Yahuwah, the God who she hated. Why would you marry a woman that hates your God? Why would you marry a woman that hates your God? So it gets worse. So as we read here, and she wrote in these letters. So this is what she wrote inside the letters. She wrote in the letters saying, proclaim a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. Do you know what that means? Set Naboth on, that means to raise him up. Let me tell you what that means. That means to catch him, then announce to the public that there's going to be a hanging. Are y'all hearing me? Are y'all hearing me? So she couldn't even do this privately. She wrote in the letters and sent these letters with Ahab's signet on it to the gangsters throughout the city, the strongmen throughout the city, and told them to catch Naboth, and I will make a proclamation to the city, and you will hang him high in public, and set 2 men, sons of Belial, meaning sons of the devil, sons of Baal, because that's who her father worshiped, Baal, the devil. And she said, notice, she said, set 2 sons of Belial, not of Yahuwah, of Belial, before him to bear witness against him. So talebearers, false witnesses, to speak against Naboth, saying, thou didst blaspheme Yahuwah and Ahab, and then carry him out and stone him, that he may die. So I'm sorry. So they're not hanging him, but they're putting him in front. They're setting him on a stage. They're putting him in front of the city. And then they're going to bear false witness against him, saying that he blasphemed the Most High and Ahab the king, meaning he lied against, and she is the ultimate liar. And they carried him out and beat him to death with stones, that he may die. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel has sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. So the problem with you beta males out there is your wives are truly running your relationships. Your wives, in many cases, some of your wives are wiser than you. Some of you men out there, you lack knowledge, and your wives have more knowledge and wisdom than you do. And they use that wisdom and knowledge to be scheming, wicked, deceitful manipulators. Don't let it be another person or another man that they are intrigued about and that they despise and that they hate. They will secretly and underhand plot on that man through you, cause you to despise him, cause you to compete against him, cause you to hate him. If you a beta pussy, many of you all are worthless. There are many relationships on the internet where the women are behind the scenes truly running the relationship. And because in fear of losing her or in fear of her becoming upset because she's not getting her manipulative way, you go right along with whatever she's doing. Some of you men are not even wise enough to see, comprehend, and understand what she's doing. So if you're a beta male and you're being manipulated by your old lady, it's almost very, very certain that if she hadn't already got fucked, she will. She might not keep doing it, but I'm going to tell you right now, not being in control of your marriage is very weak. Okay? So, don't let your wife manipulate you. There's no reason why a man should be being manipulated by a woman. If anything, it's supposed to be the other way around. I mean, I don't agree with it either way. But how is your female the pimp in the relationship and most of you cats out there? Huh? Some of you, you've been stepped out on by your women and you received them back. You a clown. You a clown. If she goes out and opens up her legs to another man, it's over. Let's keep going. Let's go to the second type of man, the asshole man. The asshole man. If you're the type of man that will disrespect the waiter, or you're the type of man that would disrespect the waitress or talk down on people, just blatantly disrespect people in customer service. And I'm not talking about disrespectful customer service workers, because we got some people that shouldn't even be hired in customer service, right? But I got a really good story for you all. It's not about customer service. I want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 25. I want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 25. I got a really good story for you all. 1 Samuel chapter 25. Hey, man, I'm going to do this really quick, man. We're almost done, man. We're going to read this chapter and then we out of here, man. And tomorrow I won't be saying, I'll probably post a little bit more this evening. But tomorrow I'm like I said, I got a few things to do tomorrow, so I won't be back. I won't be doing anything tomorrow. Okay? So the asshole, right? The asshole, in many cases, assholes, you're cowards. You're cowards. And let me tell you something. A man needs wisdom. If you are in a situation where you have a woman or let's start with the courting process. Let's start with the dating process. This is a message to all my brothers and sisters, all my brothers out there that's dating, and you're in the courting process. If this woman has a problem with your intelligence, if she has a problem with your intelligence and your wisdom, that is a deal breaker. That means if she wants to control the situation, if she is turned off, or your intelligence or your wisdom is shaking her feathers. Let me repeat this, man. This is very important. And a lot of brothers out there, they miss this. They may be looking at the titties, the ass, the pretty face, her big lips, her eyes, her mesmerizing eyes, right? She may be a fine fox. And if you sitting at the dinner table with this woman, and she constantly competing with your intellect or your knowledge, or she's being disagreeable. Now, a lot of women out there is like, what you mean? We can't disagree? Of course you can disagree. Of course you can disagree. I'm talking about being disagreeable. This means that whatever the brother is telling you, if the brother's trying to give you some knowledge, right, and you're not knowledgeable on the subject, right? See, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna be transparent. Every now and then, my old lady will try that because she wants to test my knowledge, right? But I shut that shit down with her, right? I shut it down with her. I told her, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut your mouth. Be quiet if you don't know what you're talking about. You understand what I'm saying? Do not allow it. I mean, we've been together for damn near 20 years now. And long as she not excessive with it or anything like that. But I'm trying to warn many of you brothers from the get-go. If you sitting down with a lady, if you sitting down and you're at a dating scene and she wants to constantly go back and forth with you if she's being disagreeable, I didn't say that a woman couldn't disagree, but being disagreeable is a wickedness. You understand what I'm saying? If you're just disagreeing just solely, just to disagree, that's wicked. That's wicked. And you should not deal with that type of heifer. Okay? So, listen very carefully. If you're an asshole man, you're going to lose your heifer. I'm warning you right now. If you're an asshole, you're definitely going to lose your wife, your girlfriend, whoever you're courting, you're dating, whoever. Don't be an asshole. And I'm going to read, this is a very good story, and I want you all to listen. This is 1 Samuel chapter 25. 1 Samuel chapter 25. And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him, meaning they grieved over him, right? And buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. Now, David, as you know, was our king, right? David was a solid man. You have to be a solid man in order to keep your woman interested. If you're not solid, she will be intrigued by somebody who is. You understand what I'm telling you? I hope y'all understand what I'm telling y'all. So let's keep reading. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. And he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. So we need to understand something. This man was wealthy. So it don't matter if you got money. See, a lot of y'all in a good space today because the women don't recognize solid men anymore. The women, they don't recognize this anymore. They don't recognize it anymore. You understand what I'm saying? These women out here is dumb as a rock. And if you got money, they don't give a damn whether you got honor or not. Whether you are a slanderer, a snitch, a coward, a beta, a jealous ass nigga. These women don't care if you're flashing the bucks. They don't care. But the problem is, once they see these weaknesses, your money can't keep them. You understand that? Your money cannot keep a woman once they see these weaknesses. And if they do stay, they're going to try to manipulate you and change you and mold you to directly the way they want you to be for them. So this man here, so listen to the story. So this man had bread, right? Now the name of this man was Nabal. Let's see what that name means. Nabal. This is 1 Samuel chapter 25. 1 Samuel chapter 25. We ain't gonna be long. We almost out of here. Y'all don't feel like being here. I don't feel like I'm tired, man. I just wanted to do this because I knew I wasn't gonna say nothing tomorrow. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 25. And let's go to verse 3. And his name was Nabal. Okay, so Nabal means stupid. That's what his name means, adult. A D-O-L-T, adult. What does adult mean? That means stupid. That means dumb. So from a Hebraic perspective, this man Nabal, his name literally meant stupid. It meant dumb, adult. What is adult? Bird brain. Damn. So this dude, he was rich. He had all this money, but he was an airhead. He was a bird brain. He was a blockhead. He was a bonehead. He was a bubblehead. He was a chowderhead. He was a chucklehead. He was a clodpole. He was a cretin. He was a clunk. He was a deadhead. He was a dim bulb. God damn, he was a dope. He was a dullard. He was a dum-dum. He was a dumbbell. He was a dumbhead. He was a dummy. He was a dunce. He was a dunderhead. He was a gander. He was a goof. He was a goon. He was a half-wit. He was a hammerhead. Damn, he was a jackass. Damn. This is what Nabal meant. Now, the name of this man was Nabal. If you go to the Greek to the Hebrew concordance and look up the definition of this man's name, it means dummy, stupid. He had no wisdom. He had no wisdom. Now, I'm trying to explain to you men that Christ has wisdom for you all, right? If you are dealing with a woman that does not appreciate or like wisdom, you have to go. You understand that? That's it. That's it. Because if you don't, then she's gonna constantly buck heads with you, and you don't want that. So the name of this man was Nabal. He was a dummy. And the name of his wife was Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding. Damn. I hope y'all following me here. The root word of all of this shit is wisdom. Even the first story with Ahab, was he a wise king? He was a dumb king too. He was a Nabal because he was allowing his wife to control his army. How is it that you can allow the woman you married to control your troops? This is crazy. So here we are here, right, with another dummy, a man that lacks wisdom. Lacks wisdom. And it says here, his wife was a woman of good understanding and of a so she was beautiful and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings and he was of the house of Caleb. So her husband was churlish, was stupid, foolish, and he was evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. Now listen, I'm gonna read this and we're done. But when I finish it, when I continue reading this story, if you are a man who does not see anything wrong with what Nabal did, then you just might be like this dummy here in this book. You don't know how many men and women think that he did nothing wrong. But I'm gonna read the story, and you're gonna listen, and you're gonna hear, and you're gonna understand why a lot of people don't believe that this man actually did anything wrong. So let's keep reading. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men. And David said unto the young men, get you up, go to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. Now, David wasn't yet the king. David wasn't the king yet. David wasn't yet the king. He was just a very solid stand-up man. He wasn't the king yet. He says, go and greet Nabal in my name. And thus shall say to him, say this to Nabal. That liveth in prosperity. Go and say to Nabal that is rich, peace be both to thee, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. Listen carefully to what I'm saying to y'all. David sent 10 soldiers, said, go to Nabal, tell him I said, peace, peace be unto you, peace be into your house, and peace and respect to everything that you have and everything that you own. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. This is still the message. This is the message that they are going to tell Nabal. This is third person still. David is saying, and go and tell and say, now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them. All the while they were in Carmel. Now go and tell Nabal that we did not hurt his shearer, we did not hurt his sheep, we did not hurt his employees, we did not steal or take any of his sheep. We're not thieves. We're not thieves. We don't want anything for free. We're not asking for a handout. We're not asking for a handout. Y'all hear me? David is saying, listen, I'm not asking you for a handout. Okay? Now pay attention. Then he says, ask thy young men, and they will shew thee. Ask your workers, and they will tell you, Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray you, I'm asking you, Nabal, I'm asking you, whatsoever cometh to thine hand, unto thy servants, and to thy son David. He says, and when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David? And who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I take my bread and my water and my flesh, my meats of my animals and my flesh that I have killed for my sharers and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So what's going on here is David and his soldiers were mighty men, and they watched over his establishment. I want to put it in modern terms for you all. David and his soldiers were mighty men, but they were hard up on their luck. Things weren't going too good for them. They were traveling long distances, and they had ran out of food, and they had ran out of water. All they wanted was some food. That was it. They wanted a little bit of bread, a little bit of water, a little bit of meat. You are a wealthy man. Now, I know what everybody's thinking here. He's not entitled to give them nothing. He's not entitled to give them nothing. They watched over his establishment. He didn't ask them to do that, though. He didn't ask them. He didn't say, hey, listen, can you do this for me? They did it. They did it on their own. You understand what I'm saying? They chose to do it. They chose to do that themselves. They chose to do this for me. I didn't ask them. There's a lot of people like this today. They receive help from people. They might receive assistance from mighty men, or they might receive assistance from men that have a skill. And they may say, just like I got a next door neighbor down where my mom lives, right? He's a nice young man. He's married. He has his family there with him, right? He does plumbing, I believe plumbing and electrical work. He does masonry. And when he first moved next door, there was an issue going on down in the basement. It's my house, but it's where my mother lives. And there was an issue where the pavement, the trap, somebody removed the trap. Excuse me. Yeah. Somebody dug up the front of the house and removed the trap and put dirt over the trap. And when I moved my mother in there, and when I started doing some renovating inside the house, I noticed a smell in the basement. And the neighbor that moved, him and his family moved next door, there's a crack in the wall, and the shit and the piss was going over to his house. And he knocked on my door, and he says, yo, he says, something's coming over to my basement. I think it's coming from your basement. And because he's in the masonry work, now I told him, I said, listen, I don't think it's a clog. I mean, well, it was a clog, but I said, I don't think it's from the basement. Now, I was right, ultimately, right? I said, I don't think it's from the basement. I think it's from the pavement. And he said, well, he says, you probably just not getting it. He said, what, you using the plunger? I'm like, I'm using the plunger. I said, but I used the small snake, but I had a small snake. He said, oh man, he said, You got to get the big joint. He says, probably a big clog. You get the big joint. He went and rented the snake with his money and came over to the basement and spent hours in my basement. Free of charge. Let me say that again. This young man put on his boots. He stole my mom's neighbor till this day. He's a good young man. Goes to work every day, takes care of his family, very respectful. He goes next door. He goes to his house. He goes to Home Depot, rents the snake, puts on his boots, changes his clothes, come over there. It's shit and piss in my basement. So people will say, well, he's doing it for his house too. Well, yeah, but he said, don't worry about it, man. He said, I'm going to just get it for us, man. Now, the snake didn't work because it was at the pavement. So I ended up having to pay a couple dollars to get the pavement dug back up. They had to dig the dirt up, and they had to put a trap in there because some asshole removed the trap and threw dirt over the damn trap, so the water was getting clogged at the pavement, and it wasn't able to go into the sewers. But anyway, at the end of the day, if I had let that young man leave out of my house without paying him, I would have been a piece of shit. How many of you men are pieces of shit like that? How many of y'all? You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of y'all that's like that. There's a lot of y'all. There was a lot of y'all that would have just let that young man get up. He spent an hour and a half. He didn't need the money, but we both were sore. We both were sore depressed because I'm like, God damn, I said, I knew it was the pavement. He said, yeah, it's the pavement. So he had to, if I didn't pay that man something, he rented, he went past the time that he was renting the snake and he got himself dirty. There wasn't even, yeah, that's his job. But the point is he didn't have to do that. He could have told me, listen, man, straight up from the door, $1,000. That's the going price. But about $300. But I'm just saying, he could have charged me from the door. He could have had an attitude. He didn't have an attitude. He was humble. He was meek, right? And he was about to, I said, nah, man. I said, I got you, man. I gave him a few $100s. Right? There's no way in the world I was going to allow him to do that for me at no cost. That's piece of shit. You understand that? So what? I didn't ask him. So many of you out there are like this. Well, I didn't ask you to do it. Or I didn't ask you. And you men that are like this, you are the worst. This is the type of attitude that you should not have as a man. Now, I know sometimes some people can impress themselves upon you. I don't like that either. Some people impress themselves, meaning, like, now sometimes you got to be careful. Because there's this one guy that goes around, he does yard work. And he came to me, and my money was funny that week. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to do your yard for you, man. I said, man. I said, I got it, man, because my money funny, man. I do it myself. Sometimes you just don't have it, right? And he asked me a second time when I was coming back out the house, man, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I said, brother, I'll let you do it if I had the money. But I don't have the money, brother. I said, I don't have it. I said, you can come back to me next time around. But I said, I'm having a bad week because this specific yard was a big yard and it goes around the house. So he wanted $100, and $100 is not a lot of money. But I just had one of them weeks, man. Hustle was bad. I spent a lot of money that week. Shit was going wrong. My budget was knocked off. And I didn't even want to spend $100 for that. So I was going to do it myself. I don't know when I was going to get to it, but I was going to do it myself. Didn't you know this nigga went on and did it anyway? Now that's different. When you impress yourself upon somebody, that's a little different. He went on and did it anyway. Then he come and knock on my door. He saw me go in. I went in there because when I came back to that house, it wasn't my house that I'm staying at. It was a different place. And when I went back there, I said, "Ain't this a bitch?" He done went on and did the yard. I said, "I ain't no fucking money, man." I said, "I can't," because I was talking to my wife. I said, I can't pay. I'm not paying him. And I'm not gonna pay him because I don't have it. So I go in the house. Didn't you know he come banging on my door? Like, "Yeah, man, I took care of that for you." But I said, "Listen, man." I said, "If you want to rip, man, we're going to just have to rip because I don't have your money." I wasn't trying to be tough. I just was like, "Listen, I told you twice and I had the money." That's a little different. They're not the same thing. They're not exactly the same thing. Because in this situation right here, the young man that what he did for me, right? I don't know, maybe things were a little slow for him, or maybe he just was doing it out the kindness of his heart, right? And I allowed him to do it. That's different. I allowed him to do it. You can't allow people to help you and then say, "I didn't ask you," or tell them that you're not going to give them shit. You understand this? Don't be an asshole type of dude, man. Tip the waiter. Tip the waitress. And this is not a status game. This is not a status game. This is not saying sometimes people who are stronger than you help you. Sometimes people who are richer than you help you. This is not saying it's a one-way street where it's always, like the person that's, it's not about somebody having this money or somebody not having this money or nothing like that. It's just about honor and integrity. If somebody helps you, especially if you're allowing them to help you, if you're not saying, "Hey, no, wait, stop, wait, man, just listen. I don't really, what I'm saying, I can give you something, but I don't know what exactly that you want. I appreciate you. Thank you. But if you're looking for this, if you're looking for that, I can't accommodate you with that." You understand what I'm saying? Be communicative. Talk to people. And I had to get better at this. I had to get better at this myself. Right? So let me finish this, man, because I know I rambled on right there. So this man was ungrateful. And then you got to understand, it goes beyond being ungrateful. David and his soldiers were traveling. If he didn't give them any food, they were going to starve on their journey. They weren't going to make it. So, and David said, so he went and told David's men, "Y'all not getting shit." Basically, he said, "Y'all not getting shit." And David said to his men, "Gird ye on every man his sword." And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. So they went and they got their weapons. And they armed themselves. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife. So what was going to happen here? David said, so King David said, well, he wasn't our king yet, but David said, yeah, he's not going to give us a little bit of bread. He's not going to give us just a little bit of water. And he got all this money. All right. So, but one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, the wife that had good understanding. One of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when they were in the fields. So, in a way, you can say that David and them were kind of like some gangsters, right? So, as long as they didn't even ask them for nothing, they could have robbed them. They could have armed. Listen, I'm reading the Bible. I'm just telling y'all what's going on. So David had some serious men with him, and David was a serious dude. And David said, "Listen, man, we see what y'all got going on here. We're gonna look over your establishment. Is this kind of like many of you would say, well, damn, that's kind of like extortion? Well, borderline, borderline. But let's pay attention here, right? So, but the young man, Nabal's servant, he says, but listen, he says, David and them was on their way. But they were good to us, though. They didn't hurt us. They didn't take anything from us. As long as we were communicative with them, as long as we showed them integrity and honor, and as long as we were good people to them, when we were in the fields, he said they were a wall unto us, both by night and day. All the while we were with them keeping the sheep, they protected them. Okay? So it says here, now therefore, know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial. So this servant was saying, Nabal is stupid and he's stubborn and he's the son of the devil. He's selfish. He's dishonorable. You can't give them nothing that a man cannot speak to him. He said he's such a son of Belial. He's so wicked. He's such a narcissist. He's so stubborn. He's so non-negotiable. He's so uncooperative. That nobody can talk to him. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves. His wife hurried up and took 200 loaves of bread, 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on a donkey, laid them on donkeys, laid them on asses. Let me repeat that. Dumbass Nabal's intelligent and wise wife of understanding, Abigail. She heard that David was coming, and she know that it's trouble, trouble. So because she had wisdom, this is what she did. She made haste and took 200 loaves, 2 bottles of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and put them on donkeys. And she said unto her servants, go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. Now, a lot of you will say, well, that's messed up. He didn't deserve the respect of being told what she was doing. Nabal didn't deserve that respect. So, and it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, surely in vain have I kept all this that fellow hath in the wilderness. So David is saying, I helped protect his establishment, and I did it for nothing. Because he says, so that he says, David said, surely I have done this for nothing in the wilderness. He says, I have protected all that this fellow had in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertains unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. In other words, and he said he's not going to give me shit. So, and more also do Elohim unto the enemies of David, if I leave all that pertain to him by the morning, light any of that pisseth against the wall. He says, and when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off the ass and fell before David on her face and bowed herself to the ground and fell at his feet and said, upon me, my master. So she knew that he was about to be the king. And she says, upon me, my master, upon me, let this iniquity be. And let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience and hear the words of thine handmaid. She says, let not my master, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial. Talking about her husband. She even called her husband a man of Belial. Even Nabal, for as his name is so. So in other words, she's saying his name means stupid. She says, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord, whom thou didst send. She says, now therefore, my master, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing Yahuwah hath withholden thee from coming and shed blood, and from avenging thyself on thy own hand, now let thine enemies and they that seek evil to my master be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought. So in other words, let me speed this up. So she says, verse 28, she says, I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for will certainly make the Lord sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of my master, of Yahuwah. And so she's saying, for you fighteth the battles of Yahuwah, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee and to seek thy soul. So I want to speed this up. I want to get out of here, man. I appreciate the people that's in the house, right? So let me explain what happened, right? Basically, because of his wise wife offering David the food, right? David repented. He changed his mind because he was going to go up there to Nabal's house and slaughter all his servants and him. David was going to go and he was going to kill everybody. And then he was going to take everything. That's what he was going to do. So I want everybody to understand something, man. A lot of men out there, man. Okay? Don't be assholes, man. Be righteous and consider people. Consider people's feelings. Show respect and show honor. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be honest with you. This was borderline extortion. After I reread the story, certainly, it was borderline extortion. Nabal didn't even know that they were doing it, really. I mean, David did send his servants to tell Nabal that that's what they were doing. And I guess over the course of time, Nabal allowed it. He didn't say, no, don't do that. Stop, quit, leave it alone. So I guess he allowed it. So eventually, David and them were saying, hey, look, listen, we just asked for a little bit. We really didn't ask. We would not have even asked. but we're traveling, and we're not bums, we're not broke, we ran out of food. Food don't last forever. We're going from point A to point B. We eat. We're men. We're soldiers. We've eaten all the food. And you're wealthy. You're rich. Give us a little bit to eat. Give us a little bit to drink. Ultimately, did this appear to be borderline extortion? Probably. But at the end of the day, right, I want you all to understand something. Nabal's wife was wise enough to go down there and and give the men something to eat. Moreover, I want y'all to understand something very important. Abigail. Abigail ended up eventually getting fucked by David. She was David's third or fourth wife or something like that. She ended up being David's wife. So Christ killed Nabal. Abigail, Nabal's wife, stopped David from going up there and killing Nabal. And Christ ended up killing Nabal. If you continue to read the story, Christ killed him. Christ took him away. Yahuwah. It says it right in the Bible. It says Christ killed him. So obviously, it wasn't righteous because even though he didn't ask David, he still allowed the services. And moreover, come on, man. You couldn't give them a little bit of water, a little bit of bread, right? 200 loaves of bread, 2 big-ass bottles of wine, 100 figs. This is a lot of food. If Abigail could easily give this much food away, imagine how wealthy this man was. Imagine how wealthy Nabal was. Now, if you're not wealthy, you should still offer something. Offer somebody something if they're doing you a favor. Don't just keep allowing, or either that. Offer them something and say, hey, listen, I appreciate your services. I appreciate them. But I don't want you to keep doing your services because I don't want to be a dishonorable person. Okay? Nabal dropped dead. Christ killed him. And David ended up fucking his wife. Okay? Don't be an asshole guy. Don't be these type of men, man. Have some type of integrity about yourself. Have some type of integrity about yourself. All right? Shalom.